The famous six-pack. Abs, core, waist, whatever you want to call it. The epitome of fitness. You achieve utter fitness royalty. You are the top of the cream of the crop if you have one accessory that is your six-pack. Is that false? Is it possible? There's a lot of questions. Let's use me as an example. I would consider myself in good shape. I was a college basketball player, volleyball, competitive swimming, fitness channel. I would consider myself fit. What have I never achieved? A six-pack. For myself, I've always wondered, if I truly devoted myself for a full month, main focus, getting abs, is it possible? For 30 days, I will train abs every single day, but also with the concept of progressive overload, a structure plan, not just doing crunches, but doing the most optimum exercises for not just my six-pack, but also my core, and we will explain the difference. Now, 3 things have gotten in the way for me having a six-pack. 1, my posture imbalances. 2, having a very long torso. And 3, where I store body fat. All things I will talk about in this video. Here is the before. Here's just me standing. I just stood here, and then if I flex. Today is day number 1 of training abs every day for 30 days. Now I go through phases of my APT training, so anterior pelvic tilt. Sometimes I'm really on it, and then I do start to notice a difference. And then, other challenges happen, life gets away, and I'm just not as devoted. Let's talk about your posture. ATP, anterior pelvic tilt. This pose. This is not attractive, but it's how I stand if I'm just chilling. Lower back is curved, abs are stretched out, glute is disengaged, ab is stretched, not engaged. And this is how I naturally stood versus people who stand like this. And I'm hoping to overcome long torso syndrome. I'm going to use an example of an arm. It's better illustrated. The longer the muscle, the more it has to grow to make it prominent. But for me to have a jacked bicep, it's got to be a lot bigger because I have longer levers. I'm taller. I'm watching Euphoria, and the intro was going on. Great intro, but I wanted to skip it, but my remote was out of reach and I had to get up to get the remote. Oh my god, my abs. No, we're just gonna not skip it. I'm just gonna lay here and listen to the intro. I didn't do any weighted exercises the first week because I knew this was already going to be a drastic increase in volume training every day, which I'm not used to for my abs. And my plan was, depending how I recovered, to add weights by week 2 or 3. And I think this was right by how sore my abs were. And then the specific exercises I did, I'll talk about later in the video. So I'm off to do a push day. A lot of you guys are well informed about weight training, but a lot of people do like a push-pull day. I am doing that with my abs as well, because there's a push-pull movement you can also do with your abs. So think of a Pallof press. Will be a push. First, like an ab crunch will be more of a pull action. There's a push, pull, rest day, push, pull, rest day, rest day. It's kind of how my sequence has been going. Now, Jeremy Bell is a strength coach I've been working on and off again for years with. Actually, if we go back in time, about 5 years ago, I had so many mobility issues. Even if I were to do a full glute and ab program, I barely saw any progress because I had so many mobility issues and problems just engaging my core and glutes. So he structured a whole program to help with all my injuries and overcoming that. So I really had to, after 20 years of high-level sports, start back from square one, rebuild just those foundational things, and now I'm actually able to do programs like this. And I brought him on to answer a few questions about abs, six-pack, core engagement, and all that. What types of exercises do you see people get the best results for when they're trying to achieve a six-pack?
The exercise that you're going to see the best results in, an exercise that's going to produce a visually appealing midsection or six-pack, is most definitely going to be any form of resisted crunch variation. Resisted crunches target the rectus abdominis, which is the six-pack muscles that everyone wants. Any type of loaded resistance crunch is going to give you your quickest results. These results are dependent on your body fat levels, inter-individual responses to training.
Let's talk a little bit about, I was just going to fill this water bottle, but then I realized it's completely full. Bree, Emma, go drink some water. But hydration and abs. Also, just something to be aware of anytime you see someone's before and afters. I could have done this. I thought about doing this because I'm like, oh, you could get a really sexy after photo if I just manipulate my water. The reality is I've had a lot of water in my stomach, so you'll see between my before and after, my abs are definitely not as prominent as they were a little while ago. I don't even have that much food in me right now. It's just I got a lot of water in me. Also, you can do the bodybuilder thing. What a lot of bodybuilders do, a lot of models do, the night before their shoot, they cut water and they pretty much don't drink. And water retention is the water you need just to live. They go a little bit below that and your abs do become more depleted. If you've had a night of drinking, the next morning you might wake up and be like, whoa, six-pack, where'd you come from? exactly. So there's so many things that influence it. Your digestion's a little off, your time of the month, if there's food in your stomach, if there's not. Realize a lot of people, and you guys are smart, I almost don't have to say this, I know I read in the comments, you guys are aware that a lot of before and afters can just be that. But that's also something to just be aware of, is muscle is built. To get a six-pack, it does involve building a muscle, but showing that muscle has so many different factors. It's body fat percentage, it's what you ate, and some people in reality just can't be a low enough body fat percentage to show it. I can genetically be pretty lean, but I don't even think I'm that low body fat percentage. I think people just forget I'm a lot taller than most of these girls. Really freakishly long arms and torso. So it's just like my body fat percentage is just stretched out. So sometimes I appear leaner than I am. And for me to get super lean and have that six-pack, I would have to be unhealthy, and that's where like hormonal issues come. And that is never worth it. Achieving a six-pack should always be about core and strength and being healthier. If doing it and getting that makes you unhealthier, that's why I hate the six-pack is the epitome of fitness. It's like you're in the best shape. I was like, no, those are sometimes the most unhealthy people are people with six-pack. And then some people are just genetically gifted. To all my ladies out there who feel the pressure to work on their abs, not just for sports performance and core strength and all that, but like six-pack for the summer. If you want to do a challenge of that, go for it. But just realize there's going to be a lot of things that make your six-pack not pop, and that is okay. Example, energy drink. It's really carbonated. Some people have a sensitivity to caffeine. It's gonna make them a little bloated. When I drink a whole bunch of carbonated beverages, beer, I'm looking at you, the six-pack's gone. And that's totally normal. What you eat, and genetics is a big thing. Great example, Lucy Davis is ab frickin' goals. But look at a photo of her when she was little. She genetically has abs. There's so many different reasons that were probably behind that. One, it could be how her posture. Two, it's how she holds her body fat. She holds it a bit more in her legs versus her stomach, versus someone like me who holds it more in my midsection, not my legs. My legs are always kind of my leanest part. Also, she had some definition growing up, and then she became athletic, so she was probably always engaging her abs, had a posture that allowed her to engage her abs even more and grow even more, and she has a lower body fat percentage around her midsection. So there's an example of someone who's genetically blessed to have abs. Yes, she works hard. Oh my God, she's like one of the fittest people I've ever seen. Why is core training so important versus just trying to get a six-pack?
Differs in that core training is going to encompass multiple muscle groups, not just the rectus abdominis or those nice show muscles on the beach, but it's going to include the obliques, the transverse abdominis, rectus abdominis, lower back muscles, lats, basically all the muscles of the entire midsection and trunk need to be strong to have a strong, stable core. Whereas just to have a visually appealing core, if you're lean enough, doing crunching and leg raise type variations are generally going to be the go-to versus more functional exercises that train the entirety of the core together.
Yes, the beginning of this challenge, I was very sore, but about halfway through, I did notice my body had adapted, the soreness went away, and no, I didn't take rest days, but there's a caveat to that. I had 4 actual structured ab days. It was 3 days more mobility, just keeping my core engaged, because yes, you need rest days. Your ab muscles, specifically your rectus, which is different than your core, are small, so they fatigue faster, and there's a point of diminishing returns. There's only so much muscle your body can gain in a day. You have an upper threshold, especially with genetics, and especially for females. Once you've done, say, 100 reps of something was the max amount of growth. What's the point of doing 102? There's nothing. If anything, it can start to diminish. So that is why rest days are so important. This is more just to have the habit and just really trying to focus on something like posture, because the reality is I'm trying to move against posture imbalance. I stand this way every single day and I'm trying to move against it. So that was my idea of doing some postural correction things every single day to override the other 24 hours in my day. So today we have a special guest. You might have seen him, or at least his hands, a few times on the channel. This is Joe from Mild Detox. He is like the therapist, RMT, that helps me when I'm broken. So pretty much when I do insane challenges and I'm like, oh, I'm broken, he's who fixes me. And he's gonna answer some questions about just the actual mechanics of your abs. Considering it is such a big percent of us, what is the purpose of your core and abs and six-pack and all that?
Our core is essentially what keeps everything connected. It's what allows us to run in one direction, turn another way, and bend over. Like, it's really just our engine for our body. So it's incredibly important that it functions well and that it's stable and that it's mobile.
It's almost like the anchor to everything when you really think about it.
Exactly. And a lot of issues that people have with pain and biomechanics often lead back to a core that's not optimal.
Someone who deals with people every day that have just injuries, mobility issues because not training their core and many other things, what is kind of like a non-negotiable that everyone should be? We hear 10,000 steps, 8 classes. What is that equivalent for six-pack core training?
For me, it really is compound lifts, like squats, deadlifts. Those are fundamental human movements. By training those, you really strengthen your entire core. You teach it how to coordinate with your upper body and lower body. The only thing with those exercises is that they do require good technique.
I'm gonna put on the screen what I did. A lot of this is for my posture. Every single person's movement, mechanics, posture is different. For example, if I have ATP, you could have the complete opposite. You could have a posterior pelvic tilt. If you do everything I do, it's going to add to that posture in a negative way. You want to do the opposite. So I'm going to show what I did, realize this is prescribed for me, and that is why it's so important to test out your movement patterns. Even if it's just once in your life, go to a physio, like when I go to Joe, and really figure out how my body is built, how it moves, where my weak point is, where my strong points is, and build a program around there, and you will see results so much faster than just doing what someone else did. Okay, I had a 7-day split. My 4 days, I had a push-pull day, my 3 mobility rest days that I kind of put in between. I had a warm-up every single day, bird dog, dead bug, yoga push-up. Then I always did something for my posture. For me, the best thing I feel is a plank with my elbows just a little bit above my head, or you could do an RKC plank, which I find have better abdominal engagement than just a regular plank, but are harder. It is way harder to engage your abs, so stick with the regular plank until you have the strength to actually do that, because that is a fault of most ab exercises. So you don't have the beginning strength to actually do them, so you just end up using your lower back and hip flexors. I did vacuums, which I find is a great way for me to just practice engagement and just like a little cue for myself. I have a whole vacuum challenge here if you want to know more about that. Then I went into my rectus every single day. I trained the quote-unquote six-pack. So the 2 exercises that seem to have the most muscle engagement for your rectus are bench reverse sit-ups and also laying leg raises. I did them hanging when I had the opportunity. And then my push-pull. This is specifically where I'm like, this is for me. You'll notice there's usually 2 to 3 sets, and everything was supersetted. The idea for me is because it's a movement change, I always do an antagonist movement. Example, a bicep curl, the antagonist movement is your tricep. I'm always doing the opposite. This is a great way to superset. If you're gonna do it, to really make sure you don't overcompensate one way. For example, I have really weak triceps, so I train a lot of them, and I forget to train my biceps, so my biceps get weak, and it's a forever cycle that never ends. That's how it kind of counteracts that. And make sure you're not just getting worse posture in the opposite direction. Another option also is just, so if I was training my upper body, you superset with your lower body. That's kind of a nice safe bet if you're gonna superset. Some of my personal favorite ab exercises for myself: stir the pot on a yoga ball, RKC plank, bear crawl, bent knee side plank. So you'll notice a lot of these aren't necessarily crunches, because a lot of these are about stabilizing your pelvis, and that's where the posture comes in versus the bit more of the crunch, which is going to get you a bit more of that quote-unquote rectus. Today is day 27 of my 30 days of abs, and it was the first day I did one of the exercises I do every single day, like bench crunches. And so the first time I did with weights. In the past, whenever I did it, it was not controlled, but this, like every rep I felt in control. That's an important thing. My big goal with this is also to get some ab definition without just losing weight, because I've been a bit leaner in the past and I do appear to have like abs, so a lot of it is just like my rib cage and just like the position of my body, but I'm trying to build actual six-packs, so I want to do it without weight loss. But the one thing about muscle, especially when it's a muscle like your abs that you can't see because it's hidden under quote-unquote fat, all you have to go off is progressive overload. This sucks when you don't see results, but if you are lifting and you're increasing how much you lift every week, increasing your volume, your body will gain muscle. But that was just a nice reminder. I did a lot of body weight stuff, and then I'm slowly progressing into more weighted, and then I will add on to the weight, and that's how I'm progressively overloading. And it's just nice knowing. I was like, you know what that means? That means progress. Sometimes it's small victories, but today in the gym, I kind of looked and I was like, you know what, there's a little bit of abs there. I'm not the girl that people walk in the gym and are like,
oh, look at that six-pack.
but some people might be like,
Okay, I see you.
we'll take it. Day 27, so that means I gotta take my final thumbnail in a couple days. Guess what is also on schedule to come up in a couple days? My period is so in sync to the end of the month, which is when I take all these end photos right now, so it's just like, I did not plan these 30-day challenges accordingly, but that's also a reminder. Every single day, my abs look a little different. It's also, you can't put so much pressure on yourself. Some days, I just look a bit puffier. Some days, my bathroom habits were a little bit off. So many factors that influence, especially around your stomach, 'cause it makes everything happen to you. Everything. Your digestion, your heart, your lung. Like, there's so much going on in here. Stress about something so small, like your ab definition, not always the most important thing. Again, with just Jolie, who's now Joe, the new owner of, can we do a panel? This is his studio. This is Boss Babe. So when you see me filming in here, don't be like, wow, Keltie, with the evolution. You'll be like, no, I just have a good friend. Anyways, if you didn't know, Joe has a kinesiology degree and is a certified personal trainer, was a personal trainer, but now he does this stuff full time. But he's got it all in here, so he's gonna answer some questions for you guys. First, as a personal trainer, what was the biggest mistake you see people doing? And I think I even know your answer, when training abs.
It's mostly when people start kind of just like flailing their bodies around. And I think a big portion of that is ab programming has been programmed for general population. It's usually done through AMRAPs, as many reps as possible. So no wonder people are just kind of like kicking their legs up or just like side crunching like crazy.
Berries, berries, wait, I love you, but also stop with the 1,000 reps. How would you describe the difference between a six-pack and abdominal strength?
I'd say six-pack is mainly dependent on your body fat percentage. I've worked with varsity athletes during my degree, and not a lot of them had visible six-packs because you have to maintain some sort of a body fat percentage. You can have a strong core and not even have visible abs. I'd say the aesthetic really has nothing to do with having a strong core.
What is one tip that really stands out for someone wanting to increase their abdominal strength, aka their six-pack, just classic core improvements?
I would say personally to focus on anti-rotational movements. So movements that you are resisting turn to the body. So things like pull-off presses, even just simple things like hollow holds. People may think that's not the most, fancy ab exercises.
It's amazing that having a six-pack is no longer the status symbol that you're fit. Well, that being said, your core strength is still the foundation to all athletic movements and posture imbalances. And for years, I would leave abs to the end of my workout and then just end up not doing them because I was like, oh, what's the point? It's just such a small muscle. I train so much. I just want to go home. But by starting to incorporate them throughout my workout, that helped in the past. But then, also building this 30-day habit was groundbreaking. I've really realized in the last year that if I devote myself to something for just 1 to 5 minutes a day, it's actually insane how in a couple of weeks it really adds up and just becomes autopilot in your life. Even when I travel to LA, which normally throws me off my workout schedule or just my schedule in general, I was just hyper aware. I had these 2 exercises to throw in daily, and they weren't anything drastic, but subtle changes started to happen that drastically affected my life. Like I've been having lower back pain throughout my entire running streak, and it has gone away in the last month since I started incorporating this ab training. You guys asked some questions. We're gonna do some kind of rapid fire answers to your guys' Q&A. Can anyone get a six-pack healthily? I say no. The reality is some females will always have to carry a little bit of fat there because that's where they hold their fat. So they might be lean everywhere else, but they would have to go like sub 15% to get rid of it. When you drink, what alcohol do you have? Can you still drink beer and have abs? Please say yes, LOL.
I go for a gin and tonic. Like that has nothing to do with having abs or not, just like anything, everything in moderation.
How do you do it without ruining your health at 17? I'm just gonna say, if you're under 18, do not worry about weight loss. Your hormones are like steroids right now.
Raging.
Right, you just think of it that way, be like, I'm not on a cut, I'm going to just get all that foundational muscle, especially men, but us females as well. Just worry about building muscle, and then in a couple of years, if you want to trim it down, you'll be like six-pack, because just think of yourself, you're on steroids right now that we don't have anymore.
And just know that like even the people with the visible six-pack abs on media probably don't look like that the majority of the time, so yeah, there's bigger things for it.
Why do you have visible abs to be considered fit by society?
Wow, what a deep question.
Yeah, right?
Why do you need anything to be visibly fit?
I think it does come down to several years ago, people were just really uneducated, and just abs are very visible, like, oh, they work out. And people just weren't knowledgeable about anything else. I think this area is where we hold our fat, so people just knew oversized, no abs, you're overweight. Abs, lean, and that was all we had. And now I think we're becoming more educated, and we realize there's a lot more different things. We're smarter now. So, a fantastic article, and it was a great reminder though. It was actually a Vogue article, and it's discussing low-rise jeans. It's the author's perspective of about 20 years ago, and when low-rise jeans and crop tops first came in, and our like obsession with abs and the female body. And not to say like abs haven't been in the last couple of years, but it definitely is for sure a cycle, and it has a lot to do with fashion. In my own relationship, I remember I was really young during the Britney Spears era and looking up, and like it was kind of like some of the girls would wear low-rise jeans, but the other parents would be like, how did you get away with that? Like I was like that young. I still remember it, and wearing crop tops, and then growing up seeing those body types online and being like, that is the only right body type to have. It's so fascinating and so weird that women's bodies come in and out of fashion, and it usually has something to do with the fashion. Example, low-rise jeans, you're showing a lot of stomach, people want a toned stomach. The last little bit, it's been very hourglass, high-waisted, so it's a little less care on the definition of the abs and more of like the size of your waist. There shouldn't be any shame in showing off your stomach, whether you have a six-pack or not, because it's literally has nothing to do with anything when you really think about it. It's some people genetically have it, some don't. Some people have a six-pack and have no actual ab strength. Some people have massive ab and core strength and have zero visible abs. Will always grind my gears that a woman's body can go in and out of fashion. This time, we just got out of one. We just are kind of at the end of this Kim Kardashian. Not that they're not in, and not that curves aren't in. We're kind of in this weird, where are we going next? Let's just celebrate all body types. Let's just celebrate them all. Big, small, tall, lean, skinny, curvy. If you're healthy, just if you're healthy, and if you're not, you're gonna celebrate your body and love your body so much that you wanna make it healthy, okay? Let's do that. We're in a transitional part. Let's not go 90s heroin chick. Let's not do it, please. After 30 days, where am I? Well, just kidding. Here are my before and afters. The reality is your abs are a muscle. There's only so much a muscle can grow in 30 days. And I was aware about this, especially someone like myself who does no longer possess the beautiful thing that is newbie gains. Your first year weight training typically is the most exponential growth you'll have in terms of muscle growth. But the problem of being an athlete, it's great if you did weight training when you're younger, you have something called muscle memory, but I no longer have that drastic, whoo, it's just more I get to go. It's like, it's just little progressive thing. I did see changes though. The best example would be weights. I was suddenly able to do a lot more weight incorporated movements. As I talked about, that's a great indicator that there's muscle growth. The best example I can have that I know was a big changer, the last few months I've been traveling a lot, and I've talked about how every time I travel, I come back from a plane feeling broken. My lower back, I have to go see Joe, and my back is just destroyed. When I went to LA, I came back and no back pain. It seems like my back pain has been drastically reduced. So I do know those posture muscles are probably working and my pelvis is in the right place and it's not in the wrong place for long hours on end naturally, which causes the lower back pain. The reality is 30 days is probably not enough time, especially someone who is seasoned or trained, especially with not changing my diet. I did not want to change my diet because I'm quite happy with where I am. So this video is not done. This is the beginning. This challenge will continue like my running streak. So do hit subscribe if you want, but I just wanted to educate you guys a bit, educate myself on this journey and see how much was possible in 30 days. Because the reality is there's so many 30-day challenges. A lot of the times it is diet. A lot of times it is someone loses weight. Occasionally they'll have great ab genetics. They can see results in 30 days. So that's why you can never just do a 30-day challenge and expect crazy results. It's really building that habit and continuing over time. That is not sexy. I started ATP training, I want to say like 4 or 5 years ago, and it has changed my performance, my speed, and I probably wouldn't have blown out my knee playing basketball had I done this way in the past. So it's just one of those good, it's like eating your vegetables of fitness. It's not sexy, it takes time, it's not flashy, but usually that's the sign we gotta do it. Thank you for tuning in. Hope you have a fabulous day, and most importantly, go pet a dog. Love you guys, bye.